Oh my gosh. Just blew out everyone's speakers. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad that you're here. I'm excited for tonight's show. I've been trying to get David Hatfield to come on the show for about 2 years. And so we finally nailed him down and we got him locked down. So I'm excited. We're going to talk all things paragliding, all things extreme sports. We're going to have a great time tonight. The show is brought to you by a moderation crew. Anthony Peregringo's in the air. He's just doing that to irritate you if you're not allowed to fly right now. Then we also have Craig Taylor. He's in a basement somewhere in an undisclosed area. He is moderating as well. Sean Taylor, he is Sean Nafsker. He's in a room back there somewhere. He's actually in the basement underneath the bunker. He's moderating as well. And then Nick is also moderating from an undisclosed area. Glad that you're here. If you're just now logging in, make sure you say something in chat because your name's going into a list. So we're going to spin a wheel and give something away tonight. And so I really appreciate all the people who are logging in. I see the chat is already going off the tracks. Welcome. Go check out the website if you've never done it before. Paraglidingtalk.com is the website. You want to go and find some of the past episodes. We've had some really good episodes and some really unique people have been on the show. And I'm humbled every time we have somebody new on. And tonight's one of those shows. Check out ppgsmoke.com. They're one of the sponsors of the show. Really appreciate Ryan Roberts. He's got all kinds of good stuff, gear for your paramotoring mostly, but some stuff for free flight guys as well. Go to ppgsmoke.com. That's the website. Show's brought to you by paramotorprops.com. If you are looking to get a new prop for your paramotor, they have the best deals on the interwebs, paramotorprops.com. The website, by the way, all these links of these sponsors of the show are in the description, so you can follow those if you so choose. This show is also brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school in Nebraska. If you're interested in getting some top-notch training, sign up with Josh and his team. And if you're looking for the link is in the description. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. So really appreciate everybody that's logging in. Welcome. Yeah, it's Anthony Peregrino's literally just flying around, just rubbing it in. I know where that's at.
Where is he? Is he?
That's got to be O-Time. Yeah, no, he's here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nice. He's down the street.
Nice.
Yeah. So, David, you've got a pretty wide range, and I'm really excited to have you on the show. And thank you again for agreeing. And I know that you've got you shared with me just before we went live that you've got some issues with your back, and you're in a little bit of pain. And so I won't be mad if you need to bail out. But I'm stoked that you came on. And I've got some questions I want to ping off of you. If you don't know David is a local here in San Diego. He's one of my favorite flying buddies. We've flown for a while now together, a lot of different situations, scenarios. We've flown a lot of different weather. We've tried all kinds of cross countries on days that wasn't cross country. But we've had some really good times. He's got a wide range of flying, including some wingsuit. Did you do any base stuff?
So I did some base jumping for a while, and we can go into those things. There's some interesting topics there, but never wingsuit base jumping. I did wingsuit track suits, which are kind of like a tracking suit that's like a mini wingsuit off of big walls.
Got it. And then you did some fixed wing, high aspect ratio glider. What do you call them?
Sailplane.
Sailplane, that's what it is.
That was just recently.
Sailplane. Yeah, that's pretty rad. And then now paragliding obviously is your main thing. So you've had quite a bit of involvement in extreme air sports, and you were skydiving for quite a while. You've got a ton of history in it. And it seems like everybody that I talk to is a skydiver. I'm like, hey, do you know David Hatfield? And they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly who that is. And so you've got a name in the sport. And anyways, I wanted to bounce off of you. First, how did you get into paragliding, and what were your takeaways from these extreme air sports, and what did you transfer over?
Yeah, I mean, timeline or a summary on that to make it easier is in 2003, I think it was. I had a girlfriend at the time that I said, "Whatever you want for our anniversary, like you pick it." And she said, "I want to do a tandem skydive." And I guess I had never really thought about that. It had never really been something that was at the top of mind. And I said, "Sure, let's do it." So we went. I got in the plane. There was a bunch of really just what we call skitter skydivers in there that just looked sketchy. It looked like they had been up all night the night before partying, which I found out later they all definitely were. And yeah, I mean, it's a sketchy experience. Get inside a little plane. These planes they look a little bit old and beat up, even though they're pretty reliable and awesome. And it was one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. I was petrified, man. And I was scared in the plane ride. Like I wasn't scared once I jumped out. It kind of, your brain switches over into a different mode once you exit for the first time. But I was terrified, man. And so, of course, the first thing I did, I owned a mortgage company at the time. First thing I did was go back and tell the other owner of my mortgage company and my two managers that ran the place for us, was like, we're going as a group. I'm paying for it. Let's go. And we went like 2 days later and did our second tandem. And I landed from that experience and just kind of walked in the door and said, literally, here's my blank check. How do I do this? And I want to go all the way through this process. So
Where was that at?
That's at Skydive San Diego. So That's down in Otay. It's a spot where I actually taught myself to paraglide as well, which is the hill just directly across from it. But yeah, I mean, skydiving is a sport I dedicated myself to more than anything I've ever dedicated to myself to anything in life. It kept me from a lot of family functions, a lot of friends, a lot of things that I missed out on. I was always just jumping. I even bought my house less than 2 miles away from the front of the drop zone. I could hear the plane start in the morning. And I bought that house about 40 miles away from my office. So you can see where my priorities were. So, but yeah, I spent a lot of time doing that. I think the question was paragliding though. When did the transition happen or something?
Yeah. How'd you get into paragliding?
I was interested in everything air sports, of course. At the time when I picked up a paraglider, I was already on smaller high performance parachutes and doing some swooping. I was also a skydiver that I enjoyed the free fall. I enjoyed the group free fall activities, but I really, really enjoyed the parachute. That was my thing, right? I would pull high directly out of the plane to be able to do maneuvers with friends and do proximity flights and do non-linked crew where we are flying in very tight formation and doing stuff. And I think that interest in paragliders, you can get online and find some pretty amazing videos of guys, just inspired me to try it. Mind you, at that time, it was like the fourth sport, right? So it was like the bastard child of my sports. I got in, I grabbed a wing. I was like, oh, I can do this. I've already done speed flying. I've ran myself up of mountains with, large parachutes, and I'm pretty sure I can figure this out. I highly don't recommend that route, but that was how I got into it. I was interested. I bought a used paraglider through a friend and started running myself off a mountain with another one of my adventurous and maybe a friend that had some brain damage like I did.
What was your first wing?
Dude, it was an APCO Tetra. And I'm pretty sure it was the data manufacturer was like 2003. Yeah. I don't even know. I mean, I bought it in 2006, so it was only a couple years old at the time. But yeah, it is an old wing. It's
and you still flew it for a while.
Oh, yeah, we won't go into that. That's embarrassing. I mean, I didn't really stay in the sport, so that's the whole thing, right? I taught myself to fly. It was like, again, like the fourth sport in line. So I did take it with me a couple places. I flew in Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland with it. So I got to fly the Swiss Valley and flew to Interlaken. I flew off of Haleakala. I did a couple of those, like, those novelty flights with it. And then I would just ridge soar at Torrey once in a while. That's about it. I mean, I literally, from 2006 to right when you met me, that was all I had really done with it. I had probably put 100, I'm going to guess 100 hours into the sport, but all just chilling. Not even maybe 100 hours. I'm not really sure. It was just spread out over 10 years or 12 years.
So I met David in a park. I was very passionate about ground handling and making sure that I was on doing the right thing before I sent it off the hill. And so I would go to this park, and me and Nick Hawks a lot of times, but this particular day I was just out there by myself. I had the boys, and he was actually at the time teaching his girlfriend or wife to ground handle. And so anyways, it worked out really good that we got to meet, and he was telling me about his background in skydiving, and he was kind of like, paragliding, it's okay. And skydiving is where it's at, but it's like my fourth sport. Tell me about how you all of a sudden lights came on and you're like, dude, I need to paraglide. I want to do cross country. What happened? How did the lights come on?
Yeah, that's an interesting story, and I can give you the short version, which I don't think you know. But I went through a pretty crazy health issue about 3.5 years ago. I went from being just a normal, healthy dude with zero problems really to barely able to walk. It was some crazy autoimmune thing that kicked in, and started with my tendons getting sore, and then they felt like they were all ripping, and then I could just barely walk overnight. So it was a really, really tough situation to go through. The doctors, I went to like 5 different rheumatologists and specialists, and they would take every kind of test in the world. Long story short, I went through a period of time where I went from like, a business owner, world traveler, extreme sports guy, and having a blast always, to just not even able to carry my own groceries, bro. I mean, I literally couldn't pick up a milk jug. It would hurt my shoulder tendons so much. So, I say this because, and I preface the answer with that because I was in a crazy dark period of my life and didn't have like a passion. I think you know me well enough to know I'm a highly obsessive person. So the things that I do well, and I put everything into it. I make all sacrifices to be as good as I can at things. So I had nothing at that point, right? I was like in between on everything. I wasn't doing any sports because I couldn't function. We were in Calm Mountain Ranch, right behind Little Black. And I was with my wife at the time, my ex-wife now, and her parents. And we had just walked out of a movie. I looked up when we were getting ready to sit down at this Italian restaurant, and at like 6,000 feet, there was 3 paragliders just crossing straight over Calm Mountain Ranch. And my mind just like popped. I was like, that's just absurd. It's absurd that there's people flying directly over, the town right now, and that they're going cross country in San Diego. And I'm almost embarrassed at my lack of knowledge or naivety about the sport, but I just didn't realize that we had that type of cross country in San Diego those years that I was kind of, dabbling and just running off hills here and there. So it was literally like I got up and I left the dinner and ran around the corner just to continue to track the pilots, which I'm pretty sure were like Brad and Connor and some other guys. And then they just left over the horizon towards Ramona. And that was it. I came home and I just was like, I need to start flying again. I can't walk. I can't function that well, but you know what I can do? I can go to Torrey, pull up my stuff onto the grass, just walk out, launch, and go float around. And it'll just get my brain going and get me like some peace back, So it was literally the thing that got me out of, again, not to get super heavy, but I'm going to be honest, it was the thing that took me out of the deepest and darkest depression I've ever been in, was just getting back in the air. As Bill says, knees in the breeze. And man, it just got me fired up. It got me fired up again about life. It got me fired up again about being in the air. And then it was just, gangbusters from there on.
I love it. I like that term too. I never heard that. Knees in the breeze. I like that.
Yeah. Bill keeps saying that on his weather calls.
Yeah. What are your, and let's segue into some of the, a little bit of politics. What are your thoughts about the current state of free flight paragliding culture?
My current thoughts about them. Yeah, I mean, I think that we have a pretty unique community, and I would say that I don't know many communities outside of ours, right? I haven't traveled a lot in this sport. I just got back from a trip in Colombia for a few weeks. And like I said, I traveled when I was younger in the sport. So based on our community, and I don't really participate with any online communities about the sport, I would say it's great. I mean, there's a lot of education, there's a lot of communication. And it's definitely a little bit more unified in certain ways than skydiving, and definitely a little bit more divided than skydiving. It's definitely a little bit more pocketed, kind of cliquish. I don't know what the right term is. That sounds negative, but this is a more pocketed sport, it almost seems like, where everybody's got their kind of groups. Whereas in skydiving, it was definitely a little bit more unified, a little bit more kind of, the culture was a little bit more open. So it's definitely an adjustment. We'll say that.
Okay. Did you say that it needs some adjustment? Is that
what no. I mean, it can be what it is. I'm just saying I needed adjustment to kind of like, okay, how do you adjust to this community? Because it is different, right?
Yeah.
Each community has its own DNA, whether you're in tennis or paragliding or base jumping, or they all have their own unique little DNA, and it also sucks in and holds only certain people. So you really have to figure out how to navigate those groups and the politics within those groups, which which paragliding in San Diego is not short of, for sure. There's definitely some
strong
ruffled
opinions,
feathers and opinion politics and
100%. Hey, Bob gave a donation to the super chat. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. He said, "Greetings, fellow deplorable infidel squirrels." Appreciate you, man. He's a truck driver, hardworking guy. He's probably driving right now. Appreciate your contribution to the show. By the way, this show is sponsored by the Tri-State Skywalkers. If you're in the Indiana, Kentucky, or Ohio area, reach out to Brandon McCloud if you want to join a flying club. I think it's a great idea, and especially for paramotoring, you want to get involved in a club where you've got some organization, and it's great to have people that will keep you accountable and help you to learn and grow safely in the sport. Also, if you are interested in getting some hand sanitizer, if you don't know, Brandon McCloud is actually, he's got a degree in chemistry. Sharp dude, right? He's a helicopter pilot. He's runs a small business. Anyways, he started a company, and it's called, I'm sorry, the link's in the description, but it is a germ fighting. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't remember what the name of the website is. I'll have to pull it up right now. But anyways, he, if you want to get a hold of some of that,
a gladiator.
Yeah. What is it? Germ Gladiator?
Yeah. I'll post a link.
Sorry. Yeah. I have the links in the description, but I haven't printed off the advertisement yet. But anyways, really good deals. And he saw the need, and everywhere you went for the store, you couldn't get hand sanitizer. And so they're just now barely putting them on the shelves here. And I know that in his town, they were having a really hard time. So anyways, he shifted gears and is making those available for people. So he was like, "Hey, can you advertise on the show?" And blah, 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 make that happen. So we're doing that. So also the show is brought to you by iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. Go check out their website at iflyindiana.com, iflyindiana.com. Kevin and his team will help you to get your feet off the ground. So let's talk about your involvement with, when I first met you, we flew together at Torrey Pines, and you were working with a guy who is kind of famous for photography, Travis Burke, and I call him Berkelheimer. Travis Berkelheimer, he became a paraglider pilot because he wanted to get some better pictures, and I think he wants to segue even into power paramotoring. And anyways, you had a pretty big influence on his presence on social media. I think he has like is he at 1 million now on Instagram?
Mid 800s.
Mid 800,000. So it's crazy to have that many people following you. And I'm sure he's able to monetize that and make that. Many people that watch this show have YouTube channels, and all of us have the dream to try to make it a sustainable function of our lives. What can you offer the flying community? What can you tell us to, and I'm not asking for deep, profound wisdom, just what can we do to better our presence on social media?
Yeah, first, let me clarify some of that background. So Travis was a very close friend for about 10 years. And outside of social media, outside of paragliding, we met as photographers. I was doing fashion and conceptual photography. He was doing sport photography. We met up, we did a photo shoot together, and we became, really close friends and did a lot of traveling, a lot of projects together. Anyways, he had always seen my air sport exploits. He'd always wanted to get into skydiving. He came out and filmed and did photography for me quite a few times. In fact, I met him because we were jumping. Did I tell you about that? I don't think we did.
No.
I met him in like some canyon in San Diego when we were jumping out of Brad Geary's trike. Am I allowed to say that on here?
Yeah.
So, all right. We were doing some sketchy fun stuff. Yeah. And Brad had linked up with my best friend at the time, and we were doing wingsuit jumps out of his trike. So while my buddy was jumping out of the trike, here's this kid, this young guy with this 400 millimeter lens. And I had dabbled in photography for a while, but anyways, that's how I met him. He was shooting sports photography, trying to build a portfolio. Onto the social media influencing. Yeah, I have a background in business. I've owned a few businesses. And so when Travis was building his social media, like little empire, basically, he got to a point where there was a lot going on, a lot of big brands, a lot of Fortune 50s approaching him to do large influencer contracts. You name the Fortune 50, from Visa to Toyota, American Airlines, the big companies were reaching out to him. And it was a little over his head at times. And he would reach out and ask for advice. I stepped in and ended up taking over like the business management, as well as just like an influencer manager. So what could I tell people to do to create content to be better seen, I guess? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just want to make money off of YouTube.
Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah, YouTube is the only platform that we didn't really utilize, right? So we were really heavy on social media in regards to primarily Instagram and Facebook. However, it's all the same animal in the sense of content creation, and content, the quality of content or uniqueness of content is always king, right? You can find people that have the worst production ever, right? The worst audio, the worst lighting, the worst, just everything, but it's super interesting and super unique and super niche, and it just blows up. Or you can find people that, similar to modern day marketing, it could be a totally crap product, but it's polished so well and produced so well that it still eventually organically builds traffic and finds its audience. So yeah, content and quality of content, I think, is king. And with Travis, we always believed that less is more and that quality over quantity, right? So we always believed that it was about producing the highest quality thing you can, even if it means you only producing and releasing one thing a week. It just needs to be the best you possibly can do. There's a lot of people in social media that it's the opposite. It's quantity over quality, which I completely disagree with. You'll see on my feed, I'm by no means an influencer or anything, but I have a background in content creation and photography. If I release something, I put all my effort into it. I've only released one paragliding video, right? It was that recent one that I did. And I put a ton of effort into it, it was like too much effort, but I love it. Yeah, it came out good. It was fun.
Heck yeah. You wanted to share it, like,
yeah,
you didn't want to just watch it. You were like, oh, this is cool, I'm gonna share it with somebody.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make something in this sport, dude. I've been in air sports since I was 2003, and I've been recording it like I have pictures of me in skydiving. We used to wear these cameras that were like 4 pounds on the side of our head, and then a still camera on top of my head, and then a bite switch in my mouth. I mean, like, the fact that I still have a neck is mind blowing, but I've never captured something in all those years in air sports that actually showed people that haven't flown like what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? If you show somebody a POV shot of you looking forward through risers and some lines, looking out at mountains and turning, they just don't get any perspective of it. But with the GoPro Max that I used for that cloud flying video, it really, really helps people understand, like the layman, like my parents, dude. My 70-year-old father was just like, this is epic. I get it. This is amazing. Yeah. That was fun. So that's why I dig it.
You did a photo, or you did a commercial with, I believe it was Toyota. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that and how you added paragliding into that commercial.
Yeah, it was cool. Trav, I ended up training Trav, to go back to what you were saying. Trav really wanted to learn, get in the sport. I told him I would take him all the way to a certain point, and that he obviously needed to go and work with professionals after that. So he was licensed and up and rolling quick, super natural athlete in all ways. Yeah, we were approached by Toyota to do a 3-part video series showing like underwater freediving, paragliding. I can't even remember what the other one was at this point, but
surfing, right?
Yeah, it was surfing. There you go. So we ended up deciding to go fly at Palomar, and we took a truck up there. It was a day that nobody else was there. And it was one of the only days in San Diego's, like, flying in the last couple of years, according to some of the old dogs, that we had this crazy overdevelopment happened within minutes, as well as a gust front right after that. It's also the day that Cote sent it from like wherever to Mexico. He just flew like a massive distance. Anyways, yeah, we incorporated it with the commercial. It was a cool experience. It was challenging. There was a lot of responsibility on my part. I was a production manager, helping with producing these scenes. I was also in charge of keeping my best friends safe. And yeah, it was tough, man. We launched in a very benign, situation, and there was nice little puffy clouds up front, but behind the mountain, there was a monster building. And that monster built within like 15 minutes. You know, we were in the sky and all of a sudden I looked back and there was just black and just like deep, dark, you know, clouds coming. And then you could see the belt of rain. And we landed and then there was like snow flurries and just craziness. It was a very, very strange day.
That's gnarly. So when you guys launched, did you guys deal with any of the repercussions from that building, or was it far enough away that you didn't have to deal with it?
No, I mean, there was definitely like, you know, I had reached out to some of the dudes that I looked up to, and namely right after it happened, I reached out to buddy Chris here in town. That's a really well-known pilot. I was shaken a little bit by it. Even if I wasn't there shooting and with Travis doing that, it was the only time where I just didn't feel I was completely out of control because the lift was so strong everywhere all of a sudden that it was just very difficult to get down. And it's not like CloudSec, right, where there's just one section of something lifting and then you can fly out of it and find a little bit of sink. This was everywhere. Like it was all sucking in at the same time. And that was a strange feeling.
Where was that, by the way?
It's Palomar Mountain.
Oh, it was Palomar. Yep.
Yeah, it was Palomar Mountain. It was a very interesting day, very sketchy experience. But you know, we landed, we learned some lessons. I now, no matter what, even if we're at Blossom, I'm always just looking over the back of everything, expecting something to develop. We don't typically have to deal with that in Southern California, right? If we were flying in Colorado or Utah or the other places, it's about monitoring weather, you know, every couple minutes and making sure something isn't developing. Here, we don't normally have to watch for that stuff. So it was strange.
You have a pretty wide background in photography. Would you say that your photography had an influence on your decision to fly paragliders? Did I have any
photography have any influence? No, I wouldn't say. You know, unlike Travis was stoked to be able to do photos from the air and do some aerial unique photography, like not drone photography, but shooting with, you know, a 40 or 50 megapixel camera from the sky. I never really had that desire. It does carry over, as you know, a lot. I'm the nerd that's out there shooting with my camera and barely holding onto the toggles and, you know, using all kinds of new equipment. I love it. I love capturing what we do, but yeah, definitely didn't push me into doing it at all.
You recently got an affiliation, and I'm not sure what your role, I guess you're a rep for these guys.
I'm the sales rep for the United States. Yeah.
And so this is Predator brand. I bought this from David, by the way. I love it. Amazing. It looks great. The setup is just, it's very solid. You can feel the quality in it when you open the lens. I'm
just saying that would look awesome on my dreads. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Predator. So talk a little bit about the helmets and your involvement with Predator.
Yeah, I mean, the involvement with Predator is, it kind of goes back to ironically, to when you were talking about content creation. I like to produce high quality content, even if it's just documenting what I do in the sport. And if I really like a brand, I send them that content. I had reached out to Matt a few times and said, hey man, here's a killer picture of your helmet of me flying in Colombia or flying here in San Diego or with interesting reflections. He was really pumped on the content. He explored my background a little bit and really wanted to have me involved with the company and doing, whether that's, you know, helping with social media consulting, or more importantly, and what he ended up deciding was having me be a rep for the States. And yeah, I mean, the product's just incredible. It's one of those natural organic things where I fell in love with the product. It's definitely the only helmet that I'm really pumped on in the industry. And then he offered, you know, that position after me providing him with some great quality content and some communication.
Excellent.
Yeah, and there's two helmets finally. Like they only had the DH6, so we've found that through Nick, right? So Nick Hawks showed up one day with this just carbon fiber, just like otherworldly amazing helmet, and I was blown away by it. I tried to order one and it was completely sold out, and I was, you know, devastated because I became obsessed with getting that helmet. Anyways, they now have the silver one, the carbon one, the fiberglass one, like mine and yours. Then they have the all carbon fiber one. Yeah. So there's a picture that I took over Palomar, actually. They have the carbon fiber one, but then they also have, click on air real fast. The upper. Yeah. Then they also have a little line, scroll down further. There you go. So they also have these. So there's the one I wear right now, and then I have the carbon fiber. The one above it, though, that there's a whole line of those. There's, I think there's a total of 6 colors. Pretty cool helmets. I have a couple of those coming in this week that we can check out. But yeah, it's just another great company on the market. They're obviously built and designed to be downhill skateboard helmets, but they're impact rated and they're pretty tough and robust. And yeah, I'm stoked on them.
Who's this guy?
I don't know.
But it's funny because this is your picture on their website.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's a good picture too.
Yeah, it was when I was first testing that GoPro pole for our Columbia trip.
Yeah. Downhill skateboarding.
Yeah, that's how they started in the industry, downhill.
I've got a little background in downhill skateboarding. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah. But nothing. I never got very good at it. We just had a hill by the house that we would bomb all the time.
Yeah, it's
that was in Phoenix. You probably remember. You're from Arizona. You remember Cave Creek? So Cave Creek Road.
Yeah. And
remember between Cactus. Do you remember where Cactus Road was? Well, there was a street called Sweetwater. So in between Cactus and Sweetwater, there was a hill. There was a really nice hill that you could bomb. And it would come right behind the Home Depot.
Nice.
Anyways, that was my hood growing up.
Yeah, I wasn't too far from you. I grew up on Cave Creek, but I don't remember that. I don't know that spot. I was riding BMX at that time. I used to race at Black Mountain BMX, which was out. Yeah, just outside
Black
of
Mountain. Yeah, we didn't have enough money to make it out there. We couldn't convince our parents to take us. Hey, we want to spin the wheel and we'll let Sean off of work. He's been putting everyone's name in the description. Anybody who has commented.
Yeah. I was on mute there for a minute because of this room, and now I got all the names are in. Okay.
I just noticed Mom gave $20 to the super chat. Thanks, Mom.
I know, that was super awesome.
Mom really likes David Hatfield.
Yeah. Well, she likes all of us, Okay,
Yeah.
Well, there's one more name I gotta put in here. One more name, and that's it. Only because, well, she's got my respect. She's a good flyer. I'm talking about you, Leah Catullo. All right. Don't be typing nothing else because I'm trying to get the stinking name. There we go. Okay. Good. Thank you for everyone cooperating. All right. No more names. All right. So
what are we giving away first?
I don't know. What are we giving away?
I like to give away other people's stuff.
I know. That helmet looks sweet. I'll totally take that bad boy.
Dude, that's a sweet helmet, huh?
I know.
Love it.
It would look awesome on these dreads, especially when it says Predator on the side. And then I could go visit Chris Hulbert. I could go visit Chris Hulbert, be wearing that, be like, "That's right, buddy. That's right."
This is not a sticker either. This is like engraved in there. It's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I dig it. I'm not much of a helmet guy. I just gotta admit, but I'm telling you, I'm digging that. Okay, here we go. I'm sharing y'all my screen. Can y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Look at all these stinking names, man. You guys have kept me sticking. I deserve a bowl of rice this time, and I need more poop tickets.
How many people are watching?
I don't know, a lot.
It's like 75.
I don't know.
Yeah, 76 is over here.
Wow.
76. Yeah. So
bringing it tonight.
I know, right? We ready to spin?
Yep. Get it.
All right. We're spinning. That does it. Somebody's going to win something. I'm going to make a lot of people angry because they didn't win. We can only get one. We got a t-shirt. Oh,
paraglidingtalk.com t-shirt.
KC80RW. One of the
Nick.
mods here. That's Nick. One.
Yeah, and you know what? That works out good because he doesn't have a shirt.
Oh, there you go. Congratulations, Nick. You've won yourself a shirt. Congratulations. It was totally random spin, guys.
It's rigged.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
But that's the funny thing. Out of all the odds, we've had Matt Minyard on. He won. Who else was on that had won?
Yeah.
While they were on the show, and it was just like I just out of the blue, just boom. Like
yeah. I
does
can't
that
remember.
happen?
That was there. It's happened a few times.
Yeah.
I at least have a show to wear that for the show when I'm on. I can have the paraglidingtalk.com on.
That's right.
There you go.
Paraglidingtalk.com. By the way, this show is brought to you by Lone Star Paramotor. Go check out the Lone Star State website. It is Ron Turan who runs the show out there. LoneStarParamotor.com is the website. Go check them out. The show is also brought to you by Torrey Pines Glider Port. If you want to learn how to free fly in the most beautiful place in the country, it is Max Marion who you can reach out to, or actually anybody at Torrey Pines to get your stuff set up. The website is flytorrey.com. Really appreciate them being a sponsor of the show because I love that place. It is such a great place to go and unwind and go fly. It's like the retirement for paragliding. It's beautiful. I heard you guys had a really good day there the other day, David.
It was absurd, man. So
cloud base, everything.
Yeah, me and Ryan thermaled the cloud base like deep back over by like the parking lot for the college and stuff. It was pretty nuts.
That's awesome, man.
That was a good day.
I'll be looking for some pictures on that. By the way, the show is also brought to you by Resurgence PPG. They support our wounded and our veterans. I'll just say it like that. And such a great organization. Resurgence PPG, they are a 501c3, so it's tax deductible donations when you donate. And he sponsors guys to fly paramotors, and it's pretty awesome. But yeah, go check out their website. It's resurgenceppg.com. Yeah. By the way, Nick, I need to know your shirt size, and just shoot me a message with your address and I'll ship this stuff over to you. I'm going to do a gray with black letters. Paraglidingtalk.com. Let's talk a little bit about fear mitigation. So you had an accident previously in swooping, skydiving, and how did that affect your decision making after the accident, and then how did you process through those things and continue into radical air sports?
Yeah, I mean, I'm inherently scared of all these things. I was scared of heights growing up, and I was terrified of skydiving when I first started. So I like keeping that fear on tap. That fear is, I think, what keeps us coming home. The guys that don't have the fear typically are the ones that put themselves in really bad spots. So, gosh, how do I answer that? The injury, I mean, yeah, it was one of those injuries too that I didn't really do anything stupid. I just got really unlucky, right? We would swoop. If we were we were doing downwind swoops, essentially. My mentor and like my big brother, the dude that I looked up to more than anybody in the sport, I got to a level in the sport where I could swoop side by side with him and like, you know, look over at him and be like, yeah, I'm keeping up with like the master. And it was early morning. It was like 6 a.m. We were doing, or 7 a.m. we were doing downwind swoops, light downwind swoops. And I came in, and normally you sit down right on the grass and just slide out that last 20 miles an hour. Well, I sat down on a frozen gopher hill. So basically like a gopher had made a bound. It had frozen the night before. I hit that thing at 20 miles an hour and just caught air off my tilt. So, you know, what did I learn from that? I mean, don't swoop when there's frozen gopher holes. But I mean, it's just, I
you guys writing this down?
I didn't do anything really that stupid, but I just, you know, it caught me. Yeah, I never really had much incidents in skydiving. I obviously, I lost some friends in skydiving and base jumping. I've seen some pretty heavy things in the sport. I somehow, which is insane to me, have thousands of skydiving jumps on all different kinds of parachutes and 0 unintentional parachute cutaways. I have about 5 intentional where we were doing stuff and, you know, wearing a third parachute and cutting them and, you know, cutting lines and just doing dumb stuff. But none, and no injuries. Like, you know, I blew an ankle and a knee here and there, but that was just, you know, coming in on a fast landing. So I got really lucky in that sport, man. It was a mix between, you know, skill and the right mentorship. And I also progressed at the right speed, and just never got caught up in anything. How do I deal with the fear after the injury? I mean, yeah, it reminded me that, you know, you can get destroyed pretty quick. And it reminded me that the ass, which is not a curse word, but the ass is the boss of the entire body. If you don't have a working butt, right? If you can't sit and you can't lay down and you can't sit on a toilet, and oh man, life is interesting, right? So I learned to never crash on my butt. I'm going to turn over and land on my face and break some arms instead or something.
Well, you're kind of a little dude like me though, right, David? You're a smaller guy, smaller frame guy.
I'm 6 foot 185.
Okay, yeah. See, I'm 6 foot and 150.
Yep.
So yeah, I totally feel you on that, man. Because I'm like, I sit on a park bench and it's like, oh man,
Oh,
they
yeah.
can't make these more uncomfortable.
Oh, it's
like,
the worst, man. Yeah, I mean, I've had problems sitting literally for the 5 years after the injury. I sat cockeyed and sideways with the leg up, and to the point where I was just like tweaking my back because I couldn't even sit straight. So I highly recommend not hurting your tailbone ever. It's the worst.
I use this,
Yeah.
nice thick pad,
Yep.
That jacked me up actually as a kid. I was hanging from, we were jumping from the top of the swing set onto a trampoline, and I don't know what happened, but I landed on my butt on my wallet, and I'm still jacked up from that. And I was like 12.
I believe the term for that is you missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually wasn't even trying to. I wasn't trying to jump from the swing set to the trampoline. I was standing on top of the swing set.
Oh.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, kids.
Yeah, to finalize that statement, fear mitigation. I mean, in this sport, they call it, bump tolerance. Every sport's got their own thing, right? Where you got to just kind of get enough exposure to it.
Right.
It's just about baby steps like anything else, right? We just take little bite-sized chunks of fear, and eventually we learn how to process that fear in a little bit better way each time, and not, hopefully be erratic or irrational during those times, which I've had my times. I even had one in Colombia where I got a little freaked out, sucked into a cloud. So it's it's part of the game when you're doing these things.
Yeah, talk about that. I've got one of my other questions is, do you have a time when you were out of control? And you mentioned Palomar and you were having a hard time getting down. I actually recently, I didn't really share this with anybody, but recently I had one of those. I couldn't get down. I was getting sucked up during that day when it was pretty rainy and it was south, and I went to Otay. And there was a window of opportunity between cells, and I went out and sent it, and it was just everywhere, like you said, going up everywhere, anywhere you went. And I was doing gnarly big wing overs. Video coming soon, by the way. Doing big wing overs, trying to just get low enough to where I could land and do my thing. Talk about some of your maybe sketch moments and what you took away and what changes you made to adjust. And basically the reason I ask these questions is because a lot of people come to watch this show so they can learn something that'll keep them safer.
Yeah, I mean, I would say those are the only times that I don't like this sport. It's this very weird experience to just being pulled up by, I'll quote Alex, by the finger of God, and just being pulled into the sky, and there's not much you can do about it. It's a very strange feeling to be that out of control, and then kind of, releasing, accepting, I guess, and then trying to, be rational and do the appropriate things. I've been sucked and held up in the sky a few times, and it's not a good feeling. In Colombia, I got sucked into a pretty gnarly one on accident. And I was in there for a total of 6.5 minutes and came out of it at like 11,000 feet or something.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait, how high were you when you got sucked in?
I think we went in at like 7, 8, and it was me and Alex, and he just went in the side and popped right back out. I had turned the opposite direction to him, and it was not a good direction to go. And so I went up, and I think it was at like 8 and then came out at like 10, 8 or something like that. So pretty gnarly experience, but I definitely felt more comfortable with it that time. I had the appropriate gear. I could tell which direction I was. I could see on my display, what was going on. And I knew that there was nobody else around us and that my only other friend had got out. So at that point, of course, though, those little demons, my brain has the ability to catastrophize a little bit. I don't know if you guys know that term, but my brain's really good at that. So I have to stop those, like, I'm going to get sucked to 20 grand. I'm going to be an ice cube. All those dumb thoughts. I had to like calm a little bit. And I was talking to my friends on the radio, right? I'm like, they were like, what altitude are you at? And I told them, and then they just went silent because I was so high, I guess. But, I made a few mistakes. I mean, I made the initial mistake of right when I started getting sucked heavily, right? My default response to it was like spiral out. Well, now I'm spiraling up at, 3 meters a second. So, I stopped that within about 10 seconds and then just got on bar and picked a direction and just waited. But I was going up so aggressively that it just took a long time to come out.
I've got something that somebody told me during a time when I was pretty freaked out. And he said, sometimes you got to just turn your vario off.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because the beeping. And if you're in a cloud, I bet you it would be, it's probably not the best thing to do is just shut it off. But yeah, that was something stuck in my mind. And I haven't been sucked super high into the clouds. We did it at Blossom. I think you were there that day. And that video's amazing. That's coming soon too. That was crazy. The thing that was feeding the cloud was very low.
Right.
And
it's a strange feeling.
You make one too many turns and you're ghosted,
Yeah. And which again, I like and I enjoy to an extent when I know that I'm in an area where there's, the edges of the clouds are close by. And I don't want to say I do it on purpose sometimes, but I definitely like to get in the wispies a little bit.
Columbia, when you were at 10,000 and you came out of the side of it,
yeah,
was that pretty epic or what? I mean, you look back and you're like, oh,
yeah.
I was just in there.
At that point, the only epic thing was the ground. I was looking at it and just going, I want to be there right now.
Yeah.
I just had a little bit of a moment, but I ended up continuing the flight. It was good. I met back up with the team I was flying with, and we continued on the flight. I don't think that was the 100K day, but it was a big day. We sent it, 70 or 100K that day. But yeah, that's when I would say I felt out of control in this sport. And I would say the only time in this sport where I get a little bit uncomfortable, to say the least.
Did you have your GoPro on for that?
Of course.
Can people, do you have stuff on YouTube?
I don't. I only posted, I think the only thing I have posted on YouTube is that recent cloud flying video. But I don't think that's even public. I think it's just unlisted for the private, for our community. Yeah. So I will be releasing stuff in the future. I'm just finally starting to not just do photography in this sport, but I'm actually going to really be focusing on doing little smaller kind of productions and teaming up with some of the guys here in town to film some stuff. The me, you, and Ryan's and other guys that are interested in content creation. It might be fun for us to start merging and create some killer stuff. Heck
yeah, man. I really like that. I recently picked up, I think I don't know if I showed you, but I got a
fancy camera.
Yeah,
I saw that.
360 cam. So I've done some footage. It's not. I can tell that it's not as great as the GoPro version, but I like the quickness of it. So we'll see.
I like the size. I like the shape of those. Those are fantastic. I think if you look at them specs side by side, the Max and then the new 360 1R or whatever, they're pretty darn similar. You're going to get a very similar result. I like the stitching out of the Max. If you do it correctly and you put the pole directly under it, no matter the angle of the pole, it stitches it out literally 100%. You can zoom in 400 times and try to figure out where the pole is, and you just can't.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's segue into this, and then we'll take some questions from the chat if anybody wants to ask questions for David. So you've had some... you've seen some guys get injured. You've seen some guys, you've had friends that disappear from the sport. Maybe not just from, crashing and dying from the sport or whatever, but I hesitate to try to get into philosophical talk, but when we're talking about the future of the sport and how people need to treat it so that it does become overmanaged, or we are our own government. We make our rules. If we screw this up, so I guess my question to you is, where do you see the future of the sport, and what can we do to keep it the way it is? Now it's kind of
the first part of the question. I think there was two questions there, though, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I think the first part was something about people being injured in sports and getting out of sports.
Yeah. So there's this whole section of our sport where people are getting hurt, and then I watched maybe 10, 15 different people that were meeting at Blossom and flying that were brand new and kind of like, oh, this is scary, and they're not flying at all.
Right.
I'll see their posts here and there, and it's because somebody else they saw got hurt, or they themselves might have got hurt or spooked. And then the second part of the question is about how we can keep it the way it is and not get government involved and all that.
I mean, I think in all the sports that I was involved in, air sports wise, obviously skydiving for quite a few years. And like I said, thousands of skydives. And I've been I was in and out of base jumping twice because of that. I was around a fatality where I was a first responder and I left the sport for a while. I got back in the sport, traveled to Europe and did a project over there. And then there was 2 fatalities, right. It's just, I saw enough in that sport that it was, the house always wins type of thing in that sport. It's like motorcycles. There's a statement. It's not if, it's when you go down. And it kind of had that same feeling with my exposure to that sport. So I would say in skydiving and base jumping or paragliding, any of these sports or air sports, yeah, there's going to be the people that get in and they realize like, yeah, this is some serious stuff and you can get hurt pretty quick, or they see a fatality in the sport or they lose a friend. They're not able to reason with that feeling or rationalize it or try to understand how that person passed and how that could be them, and or their family probably influences that as well. And then they're out of the sport. I mean, I think that we have an amazing capacity. People who maintain a lifestyle in these sports have amazing capacity to rationalize death and to say, it's not going to happen to me. For better or for worse, we all have that ability to say, yeah, but that's not me. Oh, but I wouldn't fly that type of gear. Oh, but I wouldn't put myself in that situation. We're really good at that. In fact, we become masters of like brainwashing ourselves out of that topic of like, am I going to die if I do this? Or am I going to die if I do that? The answer is yes, you could, right? You could die driving there. You could die driving home. You could die very easily on a very benign day at Blossom. So it's the people that do face that though, and have that conversation with themselves and are comfortable with that I think really belong in the long term in these sports. And it's the guys that really avoid that topic with themselves or with their family members or writing a will that probably shouldn't be exposing themselves to, certain aspects of the sport.
So Yankee Paramotor, he has a comment on here that I like. He said, I will say free flight barely scratches the surface of precipitator for the regulatory change. He said that burden almost entirely rests with the PPG community. Noise, overuse of LZ, bad actors. And he said, it's like saying bicyclists are the reason we outlawed straight pipes. I would have to argue.
I knew it. I knew it.
Bicycle. Free the straight pipes. But I have to argue with Yankee a little bit because we have had some, not very much, but we have had some run-ins with private property owners. We've had some issues where guys are spooking livestock. I'm talking free flight, and then we've had guys flying through airspace and violating airspace. But we do need to maintain a certain amount of respect for FAR 103 regulations, even though we're free flight people. Regulatory. I'm not interested in having any more regulation than we already have. Like we've got, what do we have? San Diego Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association. We've got the United States Hang Gliding, USPA,
yep.
Right? You've got, if you wanted to be involved, like if you want to fly Tory, one of the questions came up, do you have to have a P3 rating with a logbook from United States Hang Gliding Paragliding Association or equivalent to fly, and then they still make the decision whether or not you can fly at Torrey Pines, and it's either $10 a day or it is $200 for the year.
Do you have a logbook?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
actually.
I haven't seen one before, so I was curious what they look like.
Oh, I just made one. It was just a journal book, and I wrote the date that I flew, the place that I flew, if I did any ground handling, launches and landings, and then time in the air. And that's mainly just so I can talk about how much time I have on my wing now. In the beginning, it was like, I need to calculate every minute.
Right.
I literally, hold on. I think I.
Plus, you can learn a lot, like when you make mistakes and you do dumb stuff. That's when I would use it in skydiving. I'll be honest, I didn't really use that much in paragliding. I should have, but in skydiving, I definitely did.
4/18/2017. I had a 20-second flight.
Dude, you're burnt right now. I just saw the side of your face.
Toasted,
you got
bro.
a mask. You got a little mask thing around your neck going
Dude,
on.
I'm hurting.
You got the COVID burn.
The
He's
whole
showing it
day.
off.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was brutal today. We lifted a 650-pound, two of them, two 650-pound air conditioners by hand downstairs.
That's
2
not a good
flights.
idea. Not a good idea.
Gnarly. Yeah, but the sun is what jacked me up today.
So basically, you won't have to take a crap for a week because you already dumped it all out when you were lifting those up the stairs.
That's a fact. That is a fact, Sean.
So your first part of your question was something about people getting hurt in the sport, but then the second part was something else that I think that we segued into side regulations or something. But there was a second part of that.
How do we maintain? How do we not blow it and end up having a bunch of government regulation on our sport?
I mean, that's what Nick's for. I don't know. You know, there's people there's people that are passionate about
Nice
that, and thank God that there are. Really, I mean, there's people that are passionate about government and politics and organizing this type of stuff, and they're
he's done a great job, by the way. Nick Hawks,
the most important fixture beside, you know, him and Steve are the reason why we're able to do what we're able to do in this town.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
we give him a lot of flack, man. We harass him, but it's just like the president. He's gonna get harassed. I mean, it's just how it is. It's just how it goes.
You know, Steve can ruffle feathers, but he's a great guy with a ton of experience that we could all learn a lot from.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the experience Steve does, but Nick definitely has the experience and the natural ability to organize and kind of deal with wrangling the herd and the cats. Yeah. He's also just insanely intelligent. So the fact that even if he doesn't have the hours that Steve has, he gets into something, he's highly obsessive, he learns as much as he can about it. And I think that he's a great leader of our community, and I'm proud to have those guys. So how do we not screw it up? I mean, by supporting the dudes and backing the dudes that are willing to take the time to sacrifice the time to put themselves in those positions that we don't want to be.
Yeah.
It's a leisure to do what I do, right? I show up, I rip out gear, I go on a big flight, I land, I come home and have a steak and smile. Yeah. I'm not doing the behind the scenes hard work that he's doing. So yeah, I literally tip my hat and gratitude towards the guys that are making those sacrifices. Because if we have leaders like that in place, then we can progress through within the sport and not be seen as a bunch of ass clowns and making a bunch of mistakes, and you know, the guys that are just running off mountains causing problems. Is it a curse word? Am I being fined right now?
No, you're fine.
Okay. So you know, there's a perception, like we've recently experienced.
Being fined right now.
Wait a minute. Okay. There's a new rule. If you're going to use the term ASS, you have to make the hee-haw sound. If you make the hee-haw sound, it's all good.
All right. Keep that in mind. But you know, we recently experienced that at Blossom, right, Robert?
Right. Yes.
We had some
helicopters. I was just going to say.
Yeah, we had some helicopters show up, and we had some sheriff's department, and what had happened is someone had gotten injured one day, and then the next day someone landed on the hill. It turned into this big, you know, kerfuffle, and now the people down at the bottom in the valley, which we love and respect dearly for, you know, supporting our sport. I'm worried about their perception. Now, yeah. I'm not going to go knock doors and send letters. And so that's why when we have people like Nick who did step in and help with that situation, man, that's how we continue to stay in this sport without getting ourselves kicked out of everywhere, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
But we got to support those guys. We can pick on them maybe from time to time, you know, if they're being rough, like Steve is, but it's all about supporting them at the end of the day, because without them, a lot of the aspects of this sport and sites wouldn't exist.
I did have some, this is personal. So a lot of the guys that are watching are not free flight pilots. Most of them are paramotor pilots, but there are a few that aspire or are doing some free flight stuff. But you sent me a couple pictures of your flight deck, and I just wanted to get your opinions on the setup. So I didn't bring these. I guess I could transfer them over. Can you see this? This is his instrument panel. He uses a that's a cool picture. That's pretty late.
No, it's like 20 minutes after sunset, bro.
Yeah. And then this. So that's the setup. He's got a little speaker in there. A little, what is that? What's that called? The
That's an XC Tracer.
XC Tracer, and then you've got the little visor on a reader. So what is the setup? What does that all cost? And I'm thinking about making that transition.
I mean, some things in this sport, there's like, I can justify any price, right? I can get into a sport and I can be like, I need the best helmet on the planet because I want to live and I want my head to work. I want a good wing. I want these things. But for some reason, man, I got in and I was like, I'm not buying an Udi. I'm not spending $1,000 on this little screen that like beeps and shows a map.
Yeah.
And so I wanted an alternative. So I was one of the guys that got an XT Tracer because all the big kids had one. You know, Ryan and Connor had just got him and I was seeing the quality of them. I got that. And I liked that I could link it to my phone. So at first I was just flying my my Android phone and the XT Tracer. I love that minimalist setup. I think it's really cool. However, once I realized how well that worked, I found a Samsung tablet, which is a 7-inch tablet. And then decided to link those two things together. It works fantastic. I'm using XC Track, which is the program I'm using on there. But the problem is that the sun would hit it, right? And then that was a problem. So I just nerded out for like a couple nights looking for a visor or how to make one that would really, really block the sun and protect it. And I ended up finding some like old, I don't know, I think it's like a Winnebago visor or something that you put on the dash and you put it over the built-in dash
navigation.
Yeah. And so I modified that and then, you know, put it on there. And dude, it's epic. The reason why I love this thing, you can buy this tablet for like $70, literally like $70, a Samsung A7 tablet. The visor is $10. You know, some tape that you can see on the sides. You can't really tell how I put it on there. There's some 3M mounting tape under there. It's really, really killer. And then obviously this is linked to my phone when I fly. So if I hit the button on the left, wind alert comes up and I can see the live winds as long as I have cell service. I can swipe through the different screens. I can receive messages from Telegram on there while flying. You know, let's say Bill Davis is on there trying to tell us where to go like he was doing the other day. Yeah, it's cool. It's all in one screen. So I can kind of get everything done in one space.
It's kind of like a little like car dash for your lap.
And that's $100. Here's what I like about it. It's $100, Sean. Like if I drop that thing, if that thing gets wet, if that thing gets destroyed, I pull the other one out of the closet and stick it on.
That's awesome.
$100.
That's awesome.
So I highly recommend people look that up. We actually have an article about this, I think, on our website, Robert, on the San Diego Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association site. We have an article that Nick Hawks did about flight decks. And maybe we can throw a link at some point somewhere on here. But he did a really good breakdown. He showed everybody's decks and then showed what they bought and how they did it. And mine's on there, and the cost and the links to buy everything is on there.
How can people follow you on social media?
David Hatfield. Is it David Hatfield Photography on my Instagram? I don't even know. David I don't know, dude.
That's like asking. That's like when people ask you, "What's your phone number?" You're like, "I don't know. How often do I call myself?"
Yeah,
I call myself.
It's David Bryson Hatfield is what it comes up under. Yeah, David Bryson Hatfield. So I use Instagram. I do stories every time I fly. I do post some pretty decent content of when we go out and do some trips and stuff. I'm not a real big social media guy when it comes to like posting, hashtagging, but I'm trying to use it more often because I like to take pretty pictures.
I love it, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to go to the after show. Really appreciate all the sponsors. If you want to support the show on Patreon or PayPal, you can do that. There's links in the description for the price of about a cup of coffee per episode. You can learn something that might save your life or save somebody else's life. Keep the show going. Please invest in the show. I think it's great that we have somewhere we can go and meet up every Thursday and talk about flying and something that we so appreciate. So if you want to do that, Patreon, Robert Michaels, and then the links are in the description. Support the show. Really appreciate everybody that has been a sponsor of the show. And more importantly, I really appreciate the moderators. Thank you, Craig Taylor. I really appreciate, by the way, Craig Taylor runs Wicked Wings logos. He's got a really cool thing going. So if you want to put a logo on your wing, that's how I got my Paragliding Talk logo on my wing. He makes those. And so if you want to reach out to him, hit him up in the chat right now, or you can go to Wicked Wings Logos. Wicked Wing or Wings. Just Google it. And
it's
we're
on
gonna.
our Paramotor Nation. David put it on the bottom of that webpage because I don't really have the means to do that.
Oh, okay.
I literally cut these things like in the basement and with every spare minute, and I mean, I'm
It's a lot of work.
It's a labor of love at this point, I think, and it's just as much a labor of love to put them on for those guys that get them. So
it's gnarly to put it on. You have to really be on your best behavior.
Yeah, I've gotten better at the application processes for once they get sent out, but it's still always a work in progress. But Wicked Wings logo at gmail.com is the best way to try to get that ball rolling.
Perfect. Yeah, I love it, and thank you for making that for me, by the way. And I think we made a couple more. Sean has one for his wing, and so
There's
anyways,
still a couple here that you have not given away.
And they were awesome.
Ooh, nice. Okay, we're gonna have to give those away.
Well, I was going to need one of those for that new wing I'm getting. So
yeah. There he goes. Okay, well, we're going to go to the after show. If you want to join the after show, you are welcome to do that. If you're a Patreon or a PayPal supporter, just drop your email in the description or not in the description, but in the live chat, and we'll send you over an invite. Thanks again, David. Really appreciate you coming on. I know your back is sore. I saw you squirming a little bit and sitting up, standing up a couple times. Thank you for that was a quick hour, right?
Flew by. I'm texting Brad right now. I was like, I didn't even realize an hour went past. It's just like
everyone says that. Everyone does the same thing. It's great.
It was wild.
So anyways, thank you guys. Really appreciate the moderators. Craig, thank you. Nick, Sean, and Anthony Peregringo. I'm not sure if he made it. It looked like at the end, it was just the phone was in the grass. So somebody needs to check on him, make sure he's okay. We'll see you on the next one. So thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, David.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.